Hello everyone. It is Jackie with Pocket of Preschool, and tonight we are talking all about a color theme, and I'm going to show you the new color math unit that's in the Little Learners math curriculum. So, will you do me a giant favor and tell me in the comments, do you do a color theme in your classroom? Do you do like a rainbow theme, maybe like in the spring? Do you tie it in with weather? Kind of tell me like when you do it, or maybe you're a 2s teacher or a 3s teacher and you really, colors is one of those things that you guys really work on. So tell me in the comments all those things. And tell me in the comments if you have the color unit and if you used it and how it's going for you. All right, so let's just jump right in. So I'll tell you all the things at the top. The links are at the top, all the links to all the things. There's the link to the color unit. There's a link to the color science unit, which takes, you can talk about colors and explore colors and mix colors. So take it the science aspect of colors and color mixing. So that's at the top. Link to the Facebook group and my blog, all the things are at the top of this post. Books. There's so many good color books. So on my blog and in the color unit, there's a book list. Like there's Monsters Love Colors, Bears Sees Colors, Mix It Up, Pete the Cat is color book, Mouse Paint, Penguins Love Colors. There's so many good color books. Like it's insane. I couldn't even like fit them all on here. Like there's just so many. So if you go to my blog, I have a book list for tons of themes. So if you want to like a clickable list, there's photos of each book and then you can click on it and it'll take you to Amazon. You don't have to buy it on Amazon, but at least you can like see it and maybe like take a peek inside. Or you can check them out from your library or maybe like the public library or your school library. So this is always helpful for a color theme. All the books, because you guys know I love books. Bears Sees Colors, I love that one too. So that's either on my blog, you can grab it, or and check it out, or you can, it's in the color unit too. So a color unit is like, it's a lot about art, right? So I want to show you some things you can do in the art center, and then I'll tell you about the math color unit after I tell you some fun activities. So this is a giant color wheel that we made, I think last year or the year before, I can't remember, but the kids made it and then we put it in the art center. And the first time I drew like the pie shape or the pizza cutout, and then the kids painted each piece, and then I put out I put out collage materials and they glued it on, and we did it, I think, as a morning like arrival activity. But it was really great because you can put out different shades and tints of the different colors, and then you can put it in your art center, and it's kid art. It's a kid-made color wheel. You don't have to have those like those color posters. This is gorgeous for your classroom, and it's a great sorting activity, and you can talk about colors. So it's kind of all in one. And you gotta love free, what are they? I have a whole basket. They're what, paint samples from Lowe's. So every time I go to Lowe's or Home Depot, I grab like a whole bunch. I just always grab a handful. That way I'm never grabbing like a giant stack, and I have them if I need them. Because different stores get crabby and some will say take all of them. Just depends on your store. So I just keep a whole bunch in a basket, and then I also keep some cut up into like slivers to use for different activities. Because you can do just a cutting collage with them, like super simple, and talk about the colors, like is this a light blue, is this a dark blue, or is it like a greenish blue? So you can kind of do that. That's really simple and fun, and it's a great fine motor activity. You can also take those same colors or paint samples. These are, I think, were the ones I took these and I cut off the squares, and then I just made, Facebook is backwards for you guys tonight. Sorry about that. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I just made little letter cards, and you can put it out in a pocket chart, and they can just make letters, you can make words. Here's a photo of I did it when I did it in my classroom. It's an old photo. This is what I used to do to remember activities for the next year. I used to just print it out and put it in my planning folder. So here it is, and this one you can tell they just they put them in ABC order. You can make words with them, sight words, color words. You can make their names. You can also make a giant like paint collage or paint sample rainbow too. You'll just need a lot more red and orange than you will obviously of the purple. So those are some fun things you can do with colors, and you can sneak in some literacy, and that's all free, right? Which is the best activity, right? So to keep going with the paint samples, we did this one year and we put it in dramatic play because I never have done a color theme. I've always just integrated it into all the different themed units. So one year we did auto shop, and in dramatic play, we made this big colors chart. So when they painted the cards, they had to pick out their color. So they cut the paint samples apart, and then they had to order them from darkest to lightest, or like lightest to darkest, however they wanted to look at it. And that way we had all the colors, and then we actually hung this in the art center afterwards. So yeah, so that's really fun, and it was a great way to integrate it into play. Its transportation theme is great to you can do lots of things with colors when you do a transportation theme, or like spring when you're doing weather and rainbows too, if you don't do just a color theme. So this is a fun idea to do. Where am I at? Oh, over here. So you can also do spin art. So just put out little bottles, or you can put out little like droppers and cut out some circles and use those cheap salad spinners from like Walmart or IKEA. Put this in the bottom, they squeeze the paint, and it doesn't mix a ton, it mixes a little bit, but they love doing this, and they can watch it, the colors kind of mix and bleed. So you can do this in the salad spinner. And you can really do this for any theme. I know some people, like you can make it different shapes for different things. I know some people make hearts for Valentine's Day, and they do all the different shades of red and purples and things, and then you can make hearts, or maybe since it's winter, you can make snowflakes, or do a snowflake cutout and put those in there. So you can really do spin art for any theme. You can also just do color mixing with, you can either use liquid watercolors, just put out a bowl or a little bowl of liquid watercolor, and they can just drop the colors, and you can just put out like yellow, blue, and red, and then the colors will mix, because I didn't put out green or orange for this activity. So this is with liquid watercolor, that's why it's so bright. You can also use food coloring, it just won't be as bright, but it works too. So that's another fun color activity. This is one of my favorites. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's gorgeous. I call it like a stained glass. So all it is tissue paper, and then the paper is just wax paper, like for baking. And instead of using glue, they take liquid starch, so make a little cup of liquid starch, and then they put the tissue paper on there, and they paint the liquid starch over it, and it kind of like melts almost like into the wax paper, and it turns out gorgeous. And these are beautiful to hang in your windows. So yeah, you can tell if it's wax paper because they're not all cut the same. But this is just, again, wax paper, tissue paper, and liquid starch, and they just paint it on. And then how I usually get beautiful squares, because I know the Dollar Tree has these, but you have to like peel each one, and I just don't have the patience for that. So I buy like a thing of tissue paper from like Target or something that's like all the colors, and then I leave it all in a stack, and I just cut squares, and then they're not perfect, but it's okay. But that way I have a ton of colors and different shades, and it's cheap, and I have it, I don't have to pick apart all the squares. So that's my little hack on tissue paper squares, because I love tissue paper for all the art stuff. So somebody's asking what kind of paint I use. So this is just regular, like washable, like Crayola paint. Like, what is that? Tempera paint. This is just tempera paint. So that way you don't stain their clothes or your clothes, right? And then you can also do smash art, which I'm sure everybody's familiar with this, where, because everybody does it a lot during springtime with butterflies, but they squirt the paint on one side, and then they smash, 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 and then they open it up, and they have beautiful smash art. That's another fun one. You can also do, and we're actually doing this week for our winter theme, so I just grabbed some muffin pans from the Dollar Tree, and since winter, all the colors are a little bit more muted, we made, and the kids helped me, we just made like light colors, and then they're just doing Q-tip painting. So then I just stick some Q-tips in each one. So that's why the colors look kind of funny on the lids. But these are just those like little, my mom owns a restaurant, so she gives me a stack of these little cups. But you can use regular color. You don't have to do the light colors. You could also do dark colors by mixing a little bit of black in. But they can just do Q-tip painting with the different colors, and they can mix all the paints. So that's another fun one to do. Stacking it over there, hoping all my, if you guys would see me, I'm like surrounded by stacks as always. Always. For Facebook. I'm always just hoping nothing ever falls around me, because that would be bad. Okay. All right, and then for the block center, they have these empty paint cans at like Lowe's or Dollar Tree. Grab some of those. This is the small one. They also have a bigger one. And then just laminate some paint chip samples, and I just put them on a book ring with like a paintbrush, and they can pretend to paint their structures or whatever they build in blocks, or maybe you have it at the dollhouse, and now they're talking about colors in the block center. So this is always out in my block center, like 24/7 from the first day of school. Always so much fun. So yeah, and if you have a parent that works at a paint store or Lowe's, I had one year a parent gave this to me. It's like one of those giant Sherwin-Williams ones, or I don't know what brand it is. But they got me a giant one, so this is fun to put out too if you can get like something like this donated to your classroom. And another fun thing you can do with the muffin pan tin is just grab some little colored muffin tin liners, or if you don't have the liners, just put a like piece of paper in the bottom, and like a colored piece of paper, and then grab some pom-poms, and you can have them grab some tweezers, which I have some over there. They can grab a pom-pom with their tweezer, so it's fine motor, and then put it in. Okay, I grabbed the one color I don't have. Grab the pom-pom with the tweezer, and then put it in. So this is great for your younger kiddos. This is great for like a morning table time activity because it's easy and it's open-ended. If you wanted to make this game harder, and this kind of goes with a lot of the color activities, because some kids don't know their colors, but maybe they can count to 10. But they just still don't know their colors, so you still have to work on learning colors, even though they are higher, they have a higher level in other things. So some things you can do, and this works with any game I'm going to show you tonight, you can add a color dice. So they have to roll a color dice. And you can either have store-bought ones, which this is store-bought one. This is one I made. This is like a white cube block I've had in my classroom, and I just took dots, and I literally colored the dots, and I made a color dice with it. So you don't have to buy color dice. You can find a cube in your classroom, and you can either color the sides or paint the sides and use it as a color dice. So then they would roll the dice, blue, and then they could get out one blue. Now if that's too easy for your kiddos, then have them roll a dot dice and a color dice. So they would get one orange, and they would get out one orange, and then maybe they would roll again and get like 4 blue. So then they would be counting and identifying colors. That way it's challenging for those learners where just sorting by color is boring for them, even though they don't know their colors. So it's a skill they need to work on, but you still kind of gotta like take it up a notch type of deal. So yeah, so you can always add in a color dice or a dot dice to any of these color games to make it a little bit harder. Gotta love muffin tins from the dollar store. Love muffin tins. And I mean, Another thing for colors that kind of goes without saying, but sensory bottles are really fun. And there's two different kinds of sensory bottles you can make. I call them like dry sensory bottles, which means there's like nothing liquid inside. So these are just different things I found around the classroom that are yellow. And of course I put glitter in there because, yes. Or you can make your typical sensory bottles. So everybody asks, what bottles do I use for sensory bottles? These are mini Gatorade bottles. My kids drink tons of Gatorade, so have these. And then these are those Voss plastic bottles. If these are, if you don't have these, or you can actually buy sensory bottles off Amazon now that don't have a sticker, so you don't have to peel them off, which is awesome. Thanks Amazon or whoever's making those, or you can buy them at like Michael's or Dollar Store. But my trick to making sensory bottles is I usually do 2 parts water, 1 part glue, and I just put in like room temperature water, glue. You can either use food coloring or liquid watercolor, and then glitter. Gotta have glitter. Glitter, glitter, glitter. And then shake, shake, shake until everything mixes. And it does take a hot minute for everything to mix. And then you get this. If you want it to move slower, put more glue in. If you want it to move faster and settle faster, put more water in. So you can't really mess up a sensory bottle because you can always pour some out if you think it's like, if you didn't put enough glue in and you think it's like just settling really quick, just pour out a little bit and add more clear liquid glue. And you can buy like the gallon of liquid glue too from like Walmart or school store or discount school supply, Lakeshore, wherever. And then for the lid, what I do is I always hot glue it shut. So hot glue it really quick, screw on the cap, and then I duct tape the lid for 2 reasons. One, if it falls, the cap won't like chip, because sometimes if these sensory bottles fall and there's no tape on it, it'll kind of like the little like chip, or maybe it'll crack, and then you have sensory bottle all over the floor, which is not fun because there's glue in it, so sticky mess. And if your kids are pickers, which kids usually are pickers, they will pick at the tape, and you'll know to fix the tape before they get actually to the cap and pick off the glue. So that's 2 reasons why I use tape at the top. And you can also use like that electrical tape, or at the top, this is like that electrical tape, or you can use like that colored masking tape too. Any colored tape will work. But yeah, and I have these actually, I keep them by my sink in my restroom, because when the kids are waiting in line to wash their hands, maybe like before snack or before we go in, when we come inside after recess, that way while they're waiting, they can shake a sensory bottle and not be bored and not be poking their friends, hopefully. So yeah, so again, you can get these on Amazon, or and buy them with nothing in them, buy them like just with nothing. Oh, at the top of this post, it says Amazon links. I have a whole Amazon list with all the things for sensory bottles. So click on that if you want the ones that I use. And the ones on, almost everything on my Amazon list is stuff that I've actually purchased. So it's not like some random stuff. Like I bought it, I know it's not horrible. Because sometimes you buy stuff on Amazon, it's a little crazy sometimes. So yeah. All right, so now I want to talk about manipulatives, because when I was trying to find manipulatives in every color for this unit, because I take photos of all the activities in action so you can see how it would look in your classroom and how to set it up, it is nearly impossible to find everything in every color. So I want to show you what I found, so that way it saves you time and energy. So buttons. Buttons is probably the easiest one, because a lot of times gray, brown, and black are really hard to find in everything. But these are all buttons from Walmart. So you can go to Walmart and buy them. I did have to buy 3. I had to buy like the colored pack, and then like a brown and brown pack, I think, and then maybe like a white, I think there was like white, gray, and black. So I had to buy 3 different packs to get all of these, but I had them. So just know when you're searching for manipulatives, it might be tricky to find everything in every color. And if you don't have every activity in every color, it's okay. But I just wanted you to know going into this. And then pom-poms. Apparently, Michael's, Walmart, and Target do not carry gray pom-poms right now. If Hobby Lobby does, that'd be great because I don't have a Hobby Lobby by me. Like, well, not by me. There's one like 40 minutes away and I wasn't driving that far. So I don't have gray pom-poms, but that's okay. You can still do all these activities and just say, oh, we don't have any gray. And that's okay too. You can always just buy, what are these? Pipe cleaners. And you can get pipe cleaners in every color. You can just cut up pieces of that foam. And then you have some in every color. And these are great because you could put these in the sensory table too. Like if you're doing like water and you can put the foam, you can get wet with the water. These are stackable counters, and I have these linked on my Amazon list. These are in every color, so red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, white, brown, black, and gray. And they stack. So these are great because you can make patterns with them, you can count with them. They're great for color sorting. I don't know if you guys saw when this fall I did like this. I drew apple trees on a piece of butcher paper and they had to sort red, green, and yellow. And I just pulled out all these red, green, and yellow. But these are great for any like butcher paper activity you're doing. But as you can see, they stack up really nicely too. But these are, they're called stackable counters. They're linked on my Amazon list. These are my new favorite counter. They're awesome. They're so awesome. You can use them to measure too. And I like them because you can visually see like how many. So like if this is 4 and this is 2, they can visually see more and less because kids are very, very visual. So yeah. And then Legos. Legos are awesome. They come in almost all the colors. Well, I have them in every color. And I buy the off-brand ones from Walmart. These little counters, the ones that have like these. Oh, Rose said, these actually don't have pink, sorry. So they don't have pink, but they have the gray, black, and brown. I always say that because kids usually know pink, but they don't know like black, brown, and gray. They're usually missing one of those. So I'm sorry, these don't have pink, I take it back. And then these are awesome, but they don't have gray. These are just those snap cubes. And then Unifix cubes are awesome, but they don't have pink or gray, but they're still great to use for color activities. One thing you can use if you save them all year are marker lids, and you'll eventually get all the colors. Like this is just in my art center, and when, because they use them for extra lids, like if they lose a glue stick lid, they know where to go find one. So yeah, so you can save your marker lids, and then you will have these for color sorting. So these would be perfect too, and those will be free, right? The best. All right, so now I want to show you the brand new color math unit. So you can grab this again at the top of this post. There is that link to grab it. So this is what it looks like. And again, it's like ginormous. There's so many fun things. And I have a book list, and there's flashcards and all the things. But why I got this out was every activity has directions, and it's directions on different ways to use it, different manipulatives to use. Like maybe you don't have like muffin counters, but you have a different counter. Like you could use that. And it has pictures of it in action, so if you're visual like me, you can see how to set it up. And you can just like visualize it and you're good to go. So I keep mine on a ring, but this cover also works great if you want to put it in a binder. This is the shape packet. And there's also spines included. And then everybody always asks, how do I organize the math curriculum? I'm gonna keep it in these drawers. I will have, I think, one more unit. So the unit I'll be using, I usually keep on, I'm gonna keep on the top. But yeah, and it comes with like all these different little labels. So if you put it in tubs or if you want to put it in drawers, whatever works. So each one will have its own little drawer, and these are from Michael's. Make sure you buy them on sale because they're expensive. But they always go on sale when all the scrapbooking stuff goes on sale, and use your teacher discount, always. So there's that. So now let me show you all the goodness that is the color unit. So they're giant full page posters. So you can print these, put these in your classroom. And it's a real photograph on here, and it's like a watercolor, or I can't remember if it's a watercolor or if it's like a paint. You know that dust paint? I think it's a photo of dust paint, like exploding. So pretty, right? And all the colors, that's white, sorry. Gray, black, and brown. So it has the different shades on them, but these are great because you can put these on the ground and you can do like a color search. So put all these on the ground, on the floor, and then the kiddos have to walk around and find something that is pink and put it on the pink board, and then find something that is green and put it on the green board. It's a great way to get kids up, moving, sorting, and talking about colors. So these are in there, and there are directions on how to print these smaller. So if you don't have a lot of wall space and you want to hang these up, you can print these a half page or even 4 to a page if you want. And there's and I made this unit similar to the other units. So it has the full page posters. It also has flashcards. So there's 2 flashcards in this one. So I did the color cards that look like the color posters, but they also have the color word on them to add that literacy aspect. And then these are clip art crayon color flashcards. And they come in a big size, and they also come in a smaller size. And then they also come with the label on them, so you can put the label on the front, or you can put them in baggies and you can label them. So that's great. So you can use these with all the games. So if you want to say, so again, if they like a lot of these games, some of the color games have more than 6 colors in them, so you can't use the dice on all these games, but you could use, have them flip to the next card, and then they have to pick from that to kind of make it trickier. So since the color dice and like dice normally work for all the other units, don't really work for all the games in this unit, I included these spinners. So there's 2 different spinners, one that has just the 6 colors, and then one that has all 11 colors. And there also is like a spin again, because you know you have to have 12 on the spinner. And all you do is take these little clear spinners and then you tape it on the back. And if you don't have these, you can always have your kids like put a pencil here and then spin a paper clip around. That works too. But then they look like this. Well, maybe. And then they spin. And there's something about spinners that kids go crazy for. I don't know what it is. Kids love spinners. I guess it's just the spinny thing. I don't know. They love them. So these can be used with any game, and then the flashcards can as well. So, like the other units, there's kind of like build it mats. The other ones, they were building patterns for the pattern unit, or they were building, I'm gonna kind of move some of this, or they were building numbers during the number unit. Well, for these, they are basically matching the colors. So there's different ones included. So there are bags. So these are fun because you can really have them sort anything. And they're 2 to a page, these are. But what you can do is you can take your food from your pretend center and they can sort the food by color. And you can print these off smaller too and make these into like a file folder game. So that's really fun. So they can match the food by color. And you can also just use pom-poms. You can have them sort or match the Legos. You can have them match the pipe cleaners. Again, you can use any manipulative with these. There's also jars. So they are matching the color jars. Buttons are really fun for this one, I think. So you can have them match the buttons with to the same color jar. There are also link it cards, and I included every color for the links because I know, like, I've never seen purple links, but the second I don't include it in the pack, the company is going to come out with all the different colors. So, like, they can link all the orange on the orange card. And again, these chains are great fine motor. They're having to use those little fingers to work. So they're matching by color, but then they're also doing some fine motor work. And if you know kids, they're like, oh, look, now the orange one is the longest. Oh, the blue one is the shortest. So they'll also be using some of that math vocabulary, comparing the length of the chains when they do that. So that's why there are extra color chains, just in case maybe a company is going to come out with like neon math chains or something. They're in there just in case. There's also clip it cards, just like for the, what do you call it? The counting unit. And I will say, I love clothespins and I love spray paint. So guess what I did? I spray painted clothespins because I didn't have gray, black, white, or brown clothespins. So what did I do? I just spray painted some. And my trick to spray painting clothespins is if you take a box, here, I'll just pretend this is like a box, clip all your clothespins on like the side and spray paint them that way, because you can spray paint your clothespins in like at once. Don't forget to wear gloves, otherwise you'll color your fingers. But you can spray paint all your clothespins at once and you don't have to like flip them. But so they can sort the clothespins by color and by using, oh sorry guys, by using clothespins. Now they're getting that pincer grasp work in, and they are, using those fine motor muscles, and now they're sorting, so, and matching up all those colors. And it has all the colors. And again, if you don't have a color clothespin for these, or maybe you don't have brown buttons, just leave out that color card and it's no big deal. Or put it out and be like, oh, at the end of the activity, be like, oh my gosh, like there were no brown buttons. Oh my gosh, what could we do? Well, you could also spray paint buttons if you wanted to. I've done that before and it works. So yeah. So you can be like, what are we gonna do? We don't have any brown buttons. So you could also put it out and see if they notice that there are none of that color. And these are so fun. If your kids love Legos and building like mine do, they're gonna love these. So there's two different build it options for these. So these would work with like brick blocks, so either with small Legos or big Legos. And then these would work with like Unifix cubes. So what they would do, can you tell I had this activity set up for a photo for you guys? So what they would do is they would pick, I had a bead in there. They would pick a block or a cube and they would sort it on that color. And every time they picked it, they would build it up taller. And if you have little ones who love building, and if you have little ones who love blocks and Legos, this is a perfect game to get them matching and talking about colors. So like again, and you don't have to have Legos that would be all the same. I had these kind of like ready to go so you could kind of like see the game as if they had played it for a while. But you don't have to have Legos that all look the same. Like it is okay if you don't have a whole bunch of square Legos. It is totally fine, because then they're now actually having to balance the Legos as they pick them out. And they don't have to be all dark green. You can have different shades of green. It's okay. I think teachers stress out more about the little details than the kids. Like if you give them a bucket of Legos or blocks, and you don't have to use Legos with these. If you had just colored blocks, you could totally do this too. But just give them some Legos and see what they do. Like, I think, again, teachers stress about the minor details and the kids just figure it out because they're kids and that's what they do, right? So these are really, really fun. I think my own kiddos who are now in kindergarten and kindergarten second, they loved playing this. So don't think that just because it's a color unit that your kiddos are going to get bored. You just have to put one of the games out or that interests them, or maybe a game that uses that manipulative that interests them. slide this one off. Okay, so these are graphs. So these are great because these graphs you could use with any manipulative you have. And these come with 2 different options. So just with the 6 colors and with all 11. And these are, again, to go with the spinners. So you could use this spinner with this graph and this spinner with this graph. So you could use any manipulative you have because they're blank at the bottom, right? So you could use buttons, you could use bears, you could use whatever manipulative you have in your classroom. So there are the horizontal graphs and there are the vertical graphs, and then I did include some that have the lines across, so if they are comparing like which one's the tallest, that it's even. And these have the 2 different options too. And then there is just a normal circle option if their counters are a circle. So maybe if they're doing the buttons or the pom-poms, you could have them match the colors on the circle one. And then these are really fun. These are ice cream cones. So again, you would use pom-poms or maybe the button counters or the stackable counters, and they would sort. So they would sort by color. And you, again, put out some tweezers or add the spinners. They had to spin it, and then they would have to get it out to make it more challenging. And again, it has the 11 or the 6. And this is great too, because maybe your kiddos don't know their 6 basic colors yet. So maybe this is what you're gonna do with some of your kids. And maybe your kids that know all their colors, or maybe almost all their colors, maybe you're gonna use this with them. So it's an easy way to differentiate too in your classroom, just by putting it out 2 different ways. And then there are Lego or brick block graphs. There are the cube towers. So on these one, what they would do is they would like lay them so they could visually see them going up. So if they had 1 green, I'm gonna fast forward here. So maybe they got another blue and they could put a blue one on, and that way they would just line them up and on their flat instead of top. And again, put a spinner out and use tweezers with them. And then there also is a color caterpillar. So they could, as I'm throwing all the things, they could put them on and make little caterpillars and make them grow on there. So if kids are excited about caterpillars, maybe it's springtime, you could use this game. Maybe your other kiddos love blocks. You use this one with them. So again, there's tons and tons of options for a lot of these games in here. So use what your kiddos are interested in. Use what works best for your class. All right. If you only saw my stacks around me. So these are, I call them match the color, match it mats, I think I called them. So these are blackline. So you would want to print these on colored paper, and you can use these with the traditional counters that you already have in your classroom. So like this one, whoops, where did it go? Oh, here it is. So this one, so again, you would print this page, print a page on red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and you would use it with, you could use little bug counters with this. So what you would do is, I'll use the caves because everybody probably has bear counters. So you would just spread this out, and you can make these into a file folder game. You could even glue them on a piece of paper, so it would be like a mat. But they would pick the bear and just match the colors. Super simple, but again, if it's too simple, add the spinner, have them use, okay, maybe not tweezers because they're slick. But yeah, so they can match it. Or maybe you add a dice, they have to spin it and then roll the dice, and they have to get out that many of that color. So these mats have, let's see, so there's a cave, so you could use your bears for that. There are little trays, so you could even use Play-Doh with these, but you could use those little, like these little muffin counters if you have those, or cupcakes, whatever you call them. There's little, what are these, like bug jars, so you could use your bugs, or if you have like fish, you could use these for fish. There is an ocean, so you could use ocean counters. There are little houses, so if you have the little people counters, you could put the people in there. If you have pet counters, you could also use the pet counters for these. I added volcanoes because we all know, we all have those kids who love dinosaurs, so these would be great on the dinosaurs. There's also a farm for farm counters. I kind of put like a nature scene, so that way maybe if you have like pond counters or farm or zoo, that would work with any of these. I put a cake on here because I know a lot of us have colored candles. These are just from Walmart, so they could sort the candles by color. There is a digger because you could use pom-poms, or you could even spray paint rocks with these. And again, I just have all the different colors as I throw them at you. And then I have a wagon because maybe you have like apples or pumpkins. And if maybe you're doing apples, just put out the red and the yellow and the green. Like you don't have, maybe your kiddos are struggling with red, yellow, and green. Just put out those colors. You don't always have to put out every color. It's kind of like when you're learning letters. You don't have to put out every letter. And then I put a basket because I know a lot of you guys do that clothing theme, or you have to. So I put in a basket because maybe you have little clothing manipulatives that you could use for that, or you could even use pom-poms for this as well. But just trying to help those out of you that do that clothing theme. And I know some of you guys do color of the week, like a letter of the week, which I don't do. But if you do that, a lot of these activities would be great for those, especially the stuff that I have coming up. I'm going to show you next. It would be really great if you do color of the week. So my other units have had transportation themed activities. So this one does as well. So I know a lot of us have the little boats in the transportation counters. So you can just have them match the colors. You can have them, again, spin it. And then they have to drive the boat in. And they can park too in a dock. It's fine. And then maybe you have a whole bunch of boats. So there's a mat with all the colors as well. So you can use, again, whichever mat you have. And again, or manipulative that works for you. These cars are really fun. And I'm going to tell you a secret. I didn't have a brown car, so I spray painted it. But you can't tell, so it's fine. So again, gotta love spray paint for all those things that we don't have that aren't the right colors. So, but that way I could use this, the big mat. But I also have one with 6, so if you want to use the car counters from your transportation set, that would work with these. But that way they could spin it, and then they could say purple, and then they could drive their purple car in. And then they would drive their green car in. Super fun. And I bet if you asked parents, like let's say you don't have any Matchbox cars, you could say, hey, if anybody has any Matchbox cars they would like to donate to our classroom, please send them in. I bet somebody would send them in. Or you could put those, at the beginning of the year you have those, like some people do those wish lists. These cars are perfect for so many math games, and you can put letter stickers on them. Oh my gosh, they're like endless games you can do with Matchbox cars. I mean, plus put them in blocks, but yeah. So fun. Let's see, what else? So we have a little monster game. So we have a Feed the Monster game, which is so cute. So there's a monster with every color. So again, you can put out all of them, some of them. It's up to you. So put out all your little monsters. And I just tape them to a bag. Super, like not hard at all. You can totally cut the mouth, like a circle mouth on them. That's totally fine. And then you can just pick the cards. And what I would do is I would put some pom-poms in it too. So that way they have something that they can pick up and just kind of make it a little bit more fun. But they're most of them are food. So like this is a brown pencil, so I put in the brown monster. And there are just color words too. So yeah, and like there's just a whole bunch, so fun. So the monsters, they need to be fed. So they have to feed the monsters all the different food. There's that game. So I know some of you guys always like to ask for like a craft sometimes. So I tried to include crafts in some of the math units. So this one has just a rainbow collage. So it's just super simple. It's just a black and white rainbow collage. This one, I just have cut paper squares and they can just glue them in. You can use paint samples with this. You could also use tissue paper with this. They could color it, and maybe if you're in kindergarten, they could color it and then maybe they would write the color word because maybe you're working on color words. All right. So that's a fun game. This is another fun one. So it's a whole bunch of jars of paint and it has the color word on it. It has all the colors, all of them. Every single one. And then basically what they're doing is matching the things that are that color in the jar. So it's a giant matching game. So they could play it on the floor. You can also print this game smaller if you want this to fit in a pocket chart. That could work too. You could also make this into a file folder game because I know some of you guys love your file folder games. These are another one of my favorites, but these are puzzles. So these are real pictures for the puzzle. So it has the color word, but if your kiddos can't read, like my kiddos can't read, it has the color word in that color. And then they have to match the puzzle up. Let me show you another one. Like here's blue. And I tried to keep the pictures a little bit different on some of them. So they're not matching all the same picture all the time. But you can see like the blue has the blue mailbox, blue feather, and then the word is blue too if they can't. Obviously, a lot of our preschoolers and our toddler friends can't read. So that is a great floor puzzle for them to do. I have a color cover-up game. So you would just print 1 or 2 of these out for each kid, or they could share. And you can have them spin the spinner red, and they would cover up the red. And these are just pony beads, by the way. And they could cover up the red, and then they would spin again. Purple, and then they would cover up the purple. So I did wagons because you could, you know, if you're doing, especially because I know some people do the color unit all as one unit. Some people do it like sprinkle it in all year. So that's why I kind of made it not super themey. That way it's open to a lot of different themes if you need to sprinkle it in and use it for like intervention. So it works for a lot of different themes during the year. So like wagons work great like for farm and pumpkins and apples and just tons and tons and tons of different themes. I also have a transportation. And then I have like a food or grocery store color map. And then dinosaurs. Some kids just love dinosaurs. And then, so these are more match it mats. And you can make these different ways. So you can cut each one out and have a whole bunch. You can also make it into a file folder and put the what is this? The like cover on the front, and then you could have your mat on the inside, and then they would have to match. Or, and I need to take these to Office Max to laminate because I taped them all together before I laminated it. So, because when I take photographs, sometimes if I laminate it, it makes like a glare. So I didn't laminate these yet, but if I were you, I would laminate them, you know, if you have your lamination pouches, and then tape them together because, look, you can like fold them up and like put them away. So that's really nice. But these are very generic color matching mats. So like I have donuts, and you could use, and in the color unit there are ideas on different manipulatives you can use for each one of these mats. So you could use pony beads, and you can pretend that they are sprinkles on the donut. And don't blame me when you have to go to Krispy Kreme or go get donuts after you play this game. It's not my fault, because I got donuts after I made this one. It just looks so yummy. So yummy. And again, this one I just made into a file folder so you could kind of see the different ways you could make it. And then we have buckets. So you could have rocks. If you spray painted some rocks, you could use, again, any manipulative you have for these little color buckets. You can pretend they're paint buckets, sand buckets, anything. I did t-shirts because this goes great with the Pete the Cat book. Goes great with it. And you could use the buttons. And again, they can just match, or you can have them roll the dice. Totally up to you how you want to do it. Or maybe you want to do it different with different kids. Again, it's a really easy way to differentiate. Level 1 would be they would just match the buttons. Level 2, they would use the spinner. Level 3, they would use the spinner and a dice. So different levels, easy to differentiate. Umbrellas, so you can use pom-poms, or maybe you have gems in all these colors. You can also spray paint gems, because I have before, but you can make the raindrops for all the umbrellas with your pom-poms. We have mailboxes, so you could use your cut up letters, and they could match those. And again, if you don't have all of these, that's why I put pink, gray, and white on one page. So that way, if you wanted to stick to these, you totally could still make it into a mat. Totally could. And leave off the pink, gray, and the white. Totally make it into a mat that way too, if you don't have those color manipulatives. This one, guess what? I'm gonna have you sort on this one. Does anybody guess? Any guesses, guesses? So that you can sort letters on this one, because you know I always try and sneak in a little bit of literacy. So they can sort the letters, and you can use magnet letters. These are my letter beads that we use all the time in my classroom, because they're great because you can wash them. I use them for like in the sensory table and with shaving cream or whatever all the time, like when we do letter explosions with the baking soda and vinegar. Those are great, so you can sort the letters, because even though they're not talking about the letters, it just gives them more exposure. And then here's the donuts, again, in the big mat, or you can make it in to a file folder. Either or. Totally up to you. I like to give you guys options, you know that. Then I have 2 more activities in this. Can you believe it? Like, there are that many activities in here. So many. I started making it and I just couldn't stop. So I know some of you guys have to do worksheets. So this game, and some of you guys hate worksheets, and I have options for both types of teachers. So this one you can use as a worksheet. So let me show you, and then you can use it as a mat too, like a board. So this one, they basically just color it blue. So they can either use like a bingo dauber and dot it, or they can color it. And I have one for each color. So they will color the things that are green. And I put things on there that definitely are not that color. Like a shark is definitely not green. A bear, definitely not green. So that way they're not like, well, it could be sometimes. And sometimes no. So yeah, so that's on there. So you can use them as a worksheet, or you can print them on that color paper and use them as like a mat. And they could mark, like this one is the pink mat, so they could mark or cover, like you could even have them cover up the things that are pink. Whichever you want to do. Totally up to you. So again, if you like worksheets and you want a worksheet, you can use that. If you don't, then use it as a math mat and just print it in all of the colors. And these would also work great too if you are a teacher that has to or that uses color of the week. These would be great for color of the week. And last but not least, there's a Play-Doh mat. And again, this can be used also as a worksheet too, because I included a black line, or you could print it on that colored paper too. So here it is. So what they would do is they would trace it. You can either have them trace it with the dry erase, or they can make it with the Play-Doh. And then, okay, I have green Play-Doh here, but you guys can get find the green one. Okay, so they would have the green mat. They would trace the letter, and you can even have them color this, or they can grab their Play-Doh and they can kind of smash it on to kind of fill the object. And then they can make gumballs for that color to fill up the gumball machine. How fun is that? And great fine motor. Some kids love Play-Doh, and if you give them a Play-Doh mat, they'll do the activity. But if you give them like a coloring mat, they're like, no. So Play-Doh is the way to go for this for sure. So yeah, so then they can make their Play-Doh mat like that. And there's one for every color, all of the colors. All right. And then for the math mat, or you can make it into a worksheet too. You can have bingo dab the dots and then trace it and color, or you can just have them color the whole thing. But here it is as a worksheet. So this is the color unit math. I also have a color unit for science, so I'll show you that. I know this one's going a little bit longer than normal, but I just want to show you that one super quick. So all of this that was the math unit. So for the color unit for science, basically it's exploring colors at the science table. So they're mixing colors, they're trying to make new colors, but here is the science table setup. Because again, this unit has lots and lots of real photos, tons and tons. So let me show you a couple things. Okay, my ring broke. That happens to me. So some of the activities are there's their own personal color wheel. That activity is in there. You can do color mixing with shades and tints by adding white and black paint to colors. There's also your typical color mixing to using the primary colors to make the secondary colors. You can also set up the table at the science table, and this is my favorite, to do a color investigation. So basically, you have this amazing science table set up that looks like this. So you have 3 jars of color, and then you give them a challenge. So it's basically like a STEM challenge. So how can they mix the colors to make this one? So at first you would want to have them make the secondary color. So you would have 3 jars out. So you'd have a red color, a blue color, and a yellow color, and with droppers. And they would have to mix those colors to try and make orange. And all these jars are from the dollar store. Now my trick is when you're doing color mixing at the science table or in art, is to keep the jars small, so that way they're not just like dumping all the colors and making brown every time. And I always introduce this at small group time, and then I'll put the challenge out. And you can do different colors, different weeks. Once they know how to make a color, what we do is we add it to our chart. And this comes with it. So at the beginning, none of this is not filled in. So it would be blue plus yellow equals what? And so it would only be out till here. But then this would be blank. So that way they know what colors are we trying to make, what is happening when we mix these colors, and then we would have a science chalk, which is basically a class meeting about their science experiments, and they would say, oh, a blue plus yellow equals green, and then you could test it out together. It's like a class experiment, and then add it on, and then you could say, well, how can we make black, or how can we make brown, or like how can we make pink, and put pink and be like, what's the formula, like how can we do that, like what colors do we need to mix, how much do we need to mix? And obviously to make pink you would have to put out a little cup of just plain water with no color in it, because they would use the red and the plain to make the light pink. So yeah, super fun. But there's directions in there for all of that. So yeah, so if you want to take your color theme to the Science Center, then grab the color mixing unit. And you can also do that in the Art Center too. You guys have an amazing night. Thanks for tuning in.